is the Mortal Thor #3, and I'm not sure what's more surprising to me. Is it the fact that Marvel created a Thor book where Thor is just like a regular guy who smashes people in the face with hammers? Or is it the fact that the book kind of works? So in this issue, amnesiac civilian Thor, Sigurd, gets a job at a high-rise construction site, and some bad guys attack him there, and he responds pretty much the same way he has the past 2 issues, violently and bloodily with a hammer. But yeah, I'm really surprised at how positively I've responded to this book, when you get right down to it, it's just Sigurd smashing bad people in the face with a hammer. I mean, I guess you can't underestimate the appeal of wanton violence sometimes. Seeing all the absolute Batman buzz from this past week, Marvel's probably kicking themselves that they didn't have Sigurd face off against a bunch of white supremacists. But yeah, honestly, I actually would have had him lean into the violence a little bit more in this issue. I felt like they could have been a lot more creative with the fight sequence that takes place, on the girders, the high-rise, the construction site, etc. It's not all blood and violence, though. There's actually kind of an interesting story twist at the end of this issue that makes me curious for next issue. Absolute Superman #13 is about Superman facing off with a rich guy's personal militia, basically, that has chosen to terrorize everyday Americans for no good reason, really. That doesn't evoke anything relevant or timely, does it? But yeah, in this issue, Ra's al Ghul's Lazarus Corporation and the army and the peacemakers that come with them invade Smallville, Kansas, which of course is Kal-El's adopted hometown. Superman fights them off while Lois Lane and Jimmy Olsen work and report from the sidelines. This is one of the strongest Absolute Superman issues that we've seen since the first issue of the book came out a year ago, almost to the day. And I don't just mean that because of parallels with current events. Of course, that does make things more poignant, but Superman, Lois, and Jimmy, they're all kind of in peak form here. There are enough of those kind of elements in place that it actually kind of feels like a classic Superman story in a sense, despite this obviously being an alternate universe with alternate versions of the characters. Artistically, Rafa Sandoval really delivers, and the colors look fantastic. The only thing I'll nitpick at from an art standpoint is that I miss Superman's cape. I don't even mean that necessarily as a Superman purist. It feels weird to have the S insignia without the cape. I know the Sunstone Mist is supposed to kind of act as the cape, but it's not the same. I think my favorite panel in the issue, or at least one of them, is sort of an inconspicuous establishing shot of where Lois and Jimmy are. But it's at the Smallville Public Broadcast Center or something like that, and Lois is talking about how citizens are being held without due process, and very much ties in with the whole current event thing. Mikkel Janin also turns in a tremendous variant cover for this issue. If nothing else, Google it. It deserves to be seen. I would argue that Absolute Superman has kind of been in a little bit of a lull for the past few months, but from a quality standpoint, it all comes rocketing back with this issue. If you've phased out of Absolute Superman for a bit, I would recommend coming back here. I'm kind of fascinated lately by Flow. No, not that Flow. This is a decidedly different Flow than that one. No, I'm talking about Flow, the comic book miniseries from Mad Cave Studios, issue 2 of which just came out. So we've got 2 sort of time frames in this story. The first of which sees a preteen girl at a summer camp get her first period, but she hasn't been properly educated about her body and what that means, and that prompts a bunch of other kids to like bully and mislead her. And then we're also with the bully characters in the present day where they're adults. And Dara, the girl they bullied, very much comes back into their lives to, let's say, haunt them. So yeah, this story very much has a prominent female biology and, I'll just say it, period stuff element to it. I mean, that's kind of the hook that they're using to bring you in. And you know, it would have been kind of hacky, in my opinion, to just lean into that element and kind of go over the top with it and just rely on it and simply make Flo the horror story with period stuff in it. But as we see in this issue, Flo also has other tricks up its sleeve. It's not a one-trick pony or a one-note song or however you want to say it. You know, it can also play by conventional horror story rules. It just also has this other element in it as like an inciting incident. And I continue to marvel at just how gutsy they are for using that female biology element, which sounds weird to say. But yeah, they're going with it, but it's not the only trick they've got. They're not pushing it too hard, at least not for me. There's a haunting, tragic element to this story, a real-world kind of tragic element, because you know that the whole thing could have been avoided if Dara had simply been raised and educated the right way. And of course, that's the kind of thing that a lot of women face in the real world too, and it's just not fair. The book is not preachy, though. That's important to note. It is fun to read, it just has that real-world haunting element to it. All this and more adds up to make Flo one of the most interesting books on the market right now. Certainly it has my attention. You know, it's amazing what a fresh coat of paint can do for something, or someone, I guess, figuratively speaking. This is issue 3 of DC's new titular Batman comic book. So in this issue, the new and, I guess appropriately named, Police Commissioner Vandal Savage sets out to frame Batman and Robin as cop killers. Meanwhile, there's a high-profile scientific study that's going on in Gotham City that Batman investigates. You know what's kind of funny? There's a character, like a supporting character early in this issue, that kind of evokes Miles Morales. Now don't come after me for that, okay? I'm not simply saying that because he's a young black character, but I mean, look what he's wearing. He's got the Miles Morales colors, the shirt has kind of a graffiti type look. It's just interesting. Something else that's interesting, at least for my money, what this issue does with the Robin characters, Tim Drake and Damian Wayne. Specifically, Tim Drake's boyfriend, Bernard, becoming kind of suspicious of Bruce Wayne as far as, like, why Tim always comes back from their outings together beat up. You know, I have to say, I know it's only been 3 issues, but this new Batman run by Matt Fraction, Jorge Jimenez, and their whole team has felt more fun and more vibrant than the ongoing Batman series has in, I'm going to say, maybe 7 or 8 years. And you know, I've said before that the ongoing Batman series, like the flagship Batman series, is one of the hot seats, figuratively speaking, in the world of comic books in terms of, like, how harshly you're going to be judged and critiqued. So that's not a small accomplishment. You know, when it comes to Rook Exodus, issue 8 of which just came out, and the art specifically by Jason Fabok and colorist Brad Anderson, I feel like I've kind of exhausted all the good things you can say about comic book art. Like, I've given them all the compliments. And as such, weird, off-the-wall compliments might start to seep into some of these videos as we go through here. Like this one, for instance. Rook Exodus number 8 has art that's so richly detailed that it achieves an immersive quality that activates senses that it's not necessarily meant to. I could smell colors in this comic book. And here's the thing, I'm kidding when I say that, but only kind of. So in this issue, Rook and his cohorts are still looking for Bloodhound, who they think may know how to fix Exodus's broken world engine. He can save the planet with science stuff, basically. And in the process of following him, hunting him, searching for him, they wander into a big spider's nest. But yeah, as far as that immersive quality is concerned, early on in this book, Rook and his cohorts are in a winter setting as they prepare to enter the spider's nest. And, the combination of how detailed the art is and Brad Anderson's just brilliant colors, made me feel the cold in that setting. You can almost hear the wind. There's an immersive familiarity to it that just activates your other senses. And of course, that rich, immersive detail when it comes to real-world type stuff naturally lends credibility to the sci-fi sort of stuff, like when they enter the spider's nest. This might be my favorite page in the book. You've got the characters rappelling into this vast, dark abyss, which has some natural suspense to it. And then on the right side of the page, you've got the shot of them progressively going down, and then the spider comes up. Again, great, thriller, horror, suspense type stuff. It can be easy to get lost in the weeds sometimes with these vast, detailed sci-fi worlds. Star Trek's, Mad Max, those kinds of worlds. And that's why I think from a writing standpoint, it comes in handy to keep the stories, or the early stories in those universes, pretty simple and easy to understand. And to his credit, our author Jeff Johns has mostly done that here. You can break down this second chapter of Rook Exodus pretty simply, at least at this point, just by saying, they're looking for an insane man who might be able to save this dying world. Not the simplest premise in the world, but you get it. You can grasp onto it. But yeah, Rook Exodus really hasn't missed a beat since it's been back. If you're not picking this book up, I think you're missing out.
Hey, let's do a new Batman comic.
Yeah, sure. Who does Batman go up against?
Batman!
What?
Let's do a comic book where Batman fights Batman.
But how does that...
And then whoever wins the Batman versus Batman fight has to fight Batman.
Yeah, whatever. It'll make money. Let's just go with it. Yeah, this is DC KO Knightfight #1. So sometime during the events of the DC KO storyline that's currently ongoing, it's DC's big event comic right now, Batman gets transported to an alternate universe where he faces an alternate universe version of himself, and I guess over the course of this story that's going to keep happening, and the big catch is that the different versions of Batman that he faces are the various Robins that we've had over the years. Dick Grayson, Jason Todd, Tim Drake, etc. I was very much joking up front, okay, but at the same time it does kind of feel like the DC Comics Collective's last living brain cell came up with this story.
Batman fights Batman, and then more Batman come in to fight Batman.
DC knows where their bread is buttered, you can't deny that. But unfortunately the story that we get here doesn't really do it for me. Just a combination of the fact that I'm not sure how it fits into the DC KO narrative, and plus the fact that we've seen the whole Batman fights Batman or Batman fights his various Robin stories so many times, it just doesn't work for me. I needed something kind of different here to hook me, and I just didn't really get it. On the upside, it's pretty. It's Dan Mora doing the artwork, so it's going to look great, and really any excuse for Dan Mora to draw Batman is usually a good one. But yeah, no offense to anybody involved on the creative end of this, but I don't anticipate myself coming back for more here. The winner of a Batman versus Batman fight is usually designed to be DC because they'll probably make a lot of money from it. No thanks. There's other comics I can invest in.